Hey friends, Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I've been spending the week with the 2015 Subaru XV Crosstrek, and to be honest with you folks, this is a vehicle I was looking forward to test driving this week because I like compact crossovers, especially ones like this that have a little bit of off-road cred going on because there are very few on the market. What can you compare this to? Well, you've got the Jeep Renegade, the Fiat 500X, and there are other compact crossovers, but very few of them have this off-road credibility, both in styling, but as well as ground clearance and the undercarriage. So I really thought the best thing to do with this one was bring it out here in the desert and run it down the trail. While most competitors in the compact crossover field created a dedicated design, Subaru took a more straightforward approach. They simply started with their impressive 5-door hatch, giving it a healthy suspension lift and a punchy dose of off-road visuals. While that is oversimplifying it, that is in essence what they've done here, and I think it works quite well. Its black plastic cladding protects from nature that would reach out and touch it, and its 17-inch alloy wheels have taller sidewall tires than many, making it better out here in the rough. Though our limited model has extras on the exterior like heated body color side mirrors, auto on-off headlights, and a power sunroof, those alloy wheels are standard equipment even on the base model, as are the fog lights. Not bad at all for a vehicle which starts at just over $21,000. The interior of our Limited was well outfitted with heated leather seats and a heated leather steering wheel. The design here is a basic layout executed with quality materials and has a rugged feel that gives you the sense it's going to last. The front seats were both manually adjustable even on our Limited, but they enabled enough range to be comfortable for both taller and shorter drivers in our office, and the driver's seat gets height adjustments to go along with the tilt and telescoping steering wheel. Rear seat space is pretty generous here with a lower cushion high enough off the floor to be comfortable for longer trips. Those seats of course fold down in a 40-60 split pretty easily and offer up a flat load floor, which is always nice. Switchgear is of a higher than average feel and quality whether it's on the dash or on the steering wheel, and with the constantly variable transmission, ours also had steering wheel mounted paddle shifters along with its other various controls. With its option package 23, our tester had the top of the line infotainment and audio system with Starlink and navigation. This brought all the currently available connectivity options, both hardwired and wireless, and a suite of connected services. The audio quality still left a lot of room for improvement here, as did the overall usability. The capacitive touchscreen is sometimes slow to react and the menus not all that intuitively laid out, and the learning curve is quite steep. Adding to the frustration is the glossy screen, which is sometimes hard to see in sunlight. Now this car has a suite of driving aids called EyeSight, which is, quite honestly, one of the better suite of systems out there. It's got a lot of different features, starting with radar-based cruise control, which allows you to set a distance and it will not let you get any closer to a vehicle than you said. It'll speed up and slow down on its own. It also has forward collision warning and braking assist. So if you're driving along not paying attention and you're going to hit something, it's going to do its best to stop you from doing it. Another feature is lane departure warning. It'll let you know if you're crossing over the line and not using your signal. It also has a similar warning which sort of detects you weaving in and out, and it'll also let you know. If I sort of drift into my lane next to me here without using the turn signal, I get a pretty loud warning there. If I use the turn signal and go back, no warning. Now it works very well, but let me tell you something. If you're the kind of person that the mother-in-law in your back seat pecking at you drives you nuts, well, this system's gonna too. And the problem with this one is it defaults to on every single time you start the car. You can defeat it temporarily by pressing a button up there, and that turns it off, but next time you start the car, it's gonna be on again. Bottom line, if you like this stuff, this is a great system. If you don't like it, don't buy it. In scoring the interior, its material quality, storage, and comfort all come together to earn high marks. It's easily a 5-star cabin, which is very rare in this class. Technologies, on the other hand, are a mixed bag. Audio quality is a downer, and while the eyesight system works exceptionally well, the fact that it defaults to on makes it annoying. Therefore, we score this category at 3 stars. Under the hood is the brand's venerable 2-liter flat-4 boxer engine. Here it generates 148 horsepower and is rated at 26 mpg city, 34 mpg highway, and 29 mpg combined, with the option constantly variable transmission.
Now, this 2-liter boxer engine has a lot of fans out there. It's been very popular. It's something that virtually every Subaru that's ever been made has, and so, well, it's just got kind of a family of people out there who just have come to love it for all of its benefits. The bottom line is it works. This 2-liter engine has plenty of power, I think, especially when you're getting on the freeway, and the CVT does have paddle shifters, which really kind of give you the sensation of a real transmission. But to be honest with you, it still doesn't feel like a real transmission. If it were me, I'd probably get a manual because A, I'm just not a fan of CVTs, and this one feels very much like a CVT. If you don't use the paddle shifters and if you don't shift it manually, it still gives you that rubber band effect. The good news is this engine's smooth enough that for the most part, it doesn't have that leaf blower sound that a lot of them do, so at least it's got that in its favor.
The CVT does, however, afford good fuel economy. We achieve 30 mpg in our week with it, combined city and highway. The available 5-speed manual transmission might be more fun to drive, though it is rated a few mpg less than the CVT. Scoring the powertrain, like the technologies, was a mixed bag. The engine provides a reasonably smooth and refined demeanor with adequate power. The CVT just kills the fun, bringing our powertrain score to just 4 stars.
Now, whenever I test a crossover vehicle, I always love to bring it out here on the desert washboard road because this is a great test of a great many things here. First of all, the structure and how well it's put together. This vibrating ribbed surface can make even some of the best of them feel like a pile. And so on that wavelength, what I'm finding out here so far is I do get some vibration through the structure here and a little bit of surface rattle, I guess I'd say, but I'm not getting shuddering in the suspension. I'm not getting any kickback in the steering, which some vehicles offer up. So in that way, I think the chassis is actually pretty well sorted here, and because it does have a relatively soft ride, some of these harder bumps and things aren't crashing through in an uncomfortable way. Some of the rattling you hear in here, my camera equipment's back there, but also some of the trim is rattling in here, but not terribly. Now the other thing is the stability control. This is a gravel washboard road, so vehicles like this tend to really want to slide and kind of rotate around on these corners like that. Woo! And the stability control is always a good test to see how it's tuned. Some vehicles, it really lets you go. Other vehicles, it steps in really fast. And this one just has a nice balance to it. It lets you have a little bit of rotation, but not so much that it kind of gives you white knuckles. It's just a very comfortable tune that they've got here. So it feels safe. Obviously, you can push the limits a little bit too far. Stability control when it comes to managing things like rotation and such, woo, always has limits. You can go past the line and lose it. But as long as you're being relatively responsible, it's a nice thing to have.
The suspension on the XV Crosstrek is beefed up considerably over the standard Impreza. With this electronically controlled active torque split all-wheel drive system, it has an impressive, if not class-leading, 8.7 inches of ground clearance.
Now out here on the trail, I want to point out that this is not meant to be a true off-road vehicle. You're not going to go rock crawling with this, but what you can do is, well, take the road less traveled, and because this has a little bit more ground clearance than most, you can actually go down some of the rougher trails and not worry so much about the rocks that you might see out there in the middle. One thing that's striking me here is that it actually rides pretty soft, which is a good thing because a lot of times these crossovers tend to have a really stiff suspension which can beat you to death over some of the rocks and bumps, and this is actually pretty soft. Now it does bottom out once in a while, but luckily the rubber jounce bumpers seem to be pretty thick, so the bottom out isn't quite that rough. It's actually not bad at all. You can feel it. But for the most part, this just has a nice fun demeanor out here. Even when you hit bumps, it just feels like it's ready to go. And that kind of makes it fun. That's what you buy a car like this for. Woo!
The chassis impresses with its compliant ride over the rough stuff, but also in its control and handling on the highway and around town. The off-road oriented ride height and suspension do trade off some highway and handling sharpness though, and overall we give it 4 stars. When it comes to safety, Subaru seems to be taking on the role as the Volvo of Japanese brands. The IIHS awards it their highest honor of Top Safety Pick Plus due to its good ratings in all their tests, but also because of its advanced crash protection technologies. Following up that praise is our scoring for quality feel. Fit and finish were flawless all around, and this thing just feels like it's going to last. The only complaints really were rattles and squeaks through the cabin when we were off the pavement, so overall it checks in with 4 stars here.
Rounding it up for the Subaru XV Crosstrek, let's have a look at the specs. As you can see here, the pricing on this one is under $30,000, near fully loaded. Almost everything's here. Now, there are a few things I would probably skip, that being the CVT. I'm just not a fan of them. There is a 5-speed manual available, which is a nice thing. Also, the eyesight system, as we talked about, it defaults to on all the time, and so some people just may not jazz too well on that. I certainly don't. Now, when it comes to fuel economy, very good. I got 30 mpg for the week combined with the air conditioner on, including a lot of trail riding out here in the open, and that actually usually takes a lot of fuel, so I'm pretty impressed there. Overall, that gives us a value score of 5 stars. When you put that in with everything else we've talked about, that gives us 4 stars for the week. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Well folks, if you like the test drive you just saw, click on the link right there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We test drive 1, sometimes 2 cars every single week. We have a new video almost every single day, so there's always something new. So stay tuned.